Hi, this is Ed. Welcome to Esoteric Detective again. Just came across this, which was quite strange, and thought I'd comment on it here. So here we have an interesting bit of news, and this is where a general is warning. This is one of the top US generals, warning against the idea of sentient killing war machines, i.e. robots, that could be turned on humans. He's stating that it's very unwise to do that. That is, create these robots with in essence, an advanced AI. So before we go into this, why is that a bad idea? Well, as I talked on my other channel, The Outer Light, a few days ago now, maybe a week ago, I think, if you have a sentient AI, something that can learn for itself, then it's only limited by its computing power. And remember, we're on the verge of quantum computers. So when you tie in quantum computing with AI, and if it's sentient, it will be vastly more, intelligent than a human being. Vastly more. It'll be equivalent to, a person. I can sit down and I can write out my plan for the battlefield, and say, hey, we'll go over that direction or this direction. It might take like a few hours, 6 hours, maybe a day, maybe you'll plan for a few days. An AI could do that in a nanosecond, not a sentient AI. Not only that, but in that nanosecond, it could literally have every thought that every single person in history has ever had combined, okay, and all the words they've ever said. So the kinds of, if it turns sentient against human beings, the kind of strategies that it could employ against human beings would be so far beyond anything we can imagine that it would be fantastical. For all we know, turning off a stoplight at, somewhere in the United States at some corner that kills one person, somehow in some grand strategy that ends up winning the AI a war. And you cannot see how this connects because it's so far beyond our intellect. So I think this is a very rightful warning here. So this comes from General Paul Selva, said humans must have the final say if someone was to die. Does not want to put this in the hands of AI. And you might be thinking, well, they haven't got there at the point where they have a power source that can make robots walk around. But they don't need to walk around. That's really the movies. They could be a satellite. Okay, there could be a drone. There could be a type of autonomous drone that flies up around the Earth continuously. They have got them powered by solar panels and literally can stay up there for a long, long time. There can be any of these things. There could be a submarine powered by a nuclear reactor. Okay, so when you think of it in that stage, energy isn't really the problem. It is for autonomous robots carrying rifles like you see in the movies, but that's not really how to play out. You have AI directing, if you have AI one day, then the next day you literally have new technologies never dreamt of before that can be built by the AI. It's literally, a robot one day, and then the minute you give it the ability to manipulate other people, and it can do that just by talking. I mean, if you're talking to an AI that's in a box, who's to say that the AI isn't manipulating everyone around them because it's so intelligent? Sooner or later, you give the AI other capabilities in order to build stuff. And you have to say, well, you can stop them from doing that. No, you can't. You can stop you and a number of people with you from doing that. Once the technology's out there, it goes underground, just to the dark web. Create an AI that can walk around, create an AI that invents new types of technologies and energy systems. Why not? So a lot of the world's problems would also be solved the day an AI would come about, because you'd have the solutions to them, but they'd also be created. So this come in here from a top military official. A top military official has warned lawmakers not to equip the military with autonomous weapons that could go rogue. The US second high-ranking general said he believed humans must always be the ones that pull the trigger. So he's advocated keeping the ethics rules of war even if the US enemies didn't. That's a good idea. In June, the Pentagon awarded $11 million. So there's literally billions that have gone into this. These are really just certain programs. Responding to question from Senator Gray Peters at the Senate Arms Committee, he warned against unleashing these beyond control. I don't think it's reasonable for us to put robots in charge of whether or not we take a human life, he said. So this is reported by The Hill and a lot of other places. Of course, Elon Musk has came forward and said it's a grave threat to humanity, AI. Meanwhile, he's putting billions of dollars into it, but that's just business, I guess. You know, you've had people like Stephen Hawkins come out and state that it's like the invention of fire. So once AI comes along, you have a new world, literally the next day that it happens. It's really is like the invention of fire. So this is reported on The Hill as well. Top US general warns against rogue killer robots. So just really very interesting. You think about the trajectory of technology, it's heading towards AI, quantum computing. You know, people have been warning about it. Will it give great things to humanity? Yes, of course it will, but there will also be tremendous dangers. And, you know, technology is moving so fast, it's really hard for these people to actually keep track of the evolution of it. You know, it's driven by economics, it's driven by war, it's driven by the fact to create the technology to make money, you know, to grow rich. So it is an interesting thing. Here's last year, Tesla founder Elon Musk and famed astrophysicist Stephen Hawkins warned in an open letter against the possibilities of weapons developers using artificial intelligence. Well, of course they are. Why wouldn't they? Weapons developers use anything that will gain an advantage. Thereby they can sell that to the generals and things like that. You need to be able to create technology that creates an advantage. Let's have a look at some of the comments here. Usually get a number of very interesting things from the comments here. Here's Vinny Tutos states, matter of time, a robot walks into a bar, orders a drink, and lays down some cash. Bartender says, hey, we don't serve robots. And the robot says, oh, but someday you will. Wow. Skynet is active, bro. Just saying below the radar and cross the fingers. Oh no, they're onto us. There's Skynet there. It would be inhuman to take the human element out of killing. Horrifying even. I don't even think, the general says to take the human element out of killing. I don't even think that's what it's about, really. The moment you have sentient robots, and you have enough of them, would humanity even be able to survive? Probably not. Probably not if they turned on people. You're dealing with something with a highest IQ of human beings like 220 or whatever, dealing with some entity that's got an IQ of 1 trillion. It could literally see every strategic move you've ever thought of and ever done and ever will do. You create software to measure the near infinite relation between sequences, to say, oh, this movement over here means this, etc. It could just read it all. To them, it would be like us looking at a 2-year-old, trying to get into the cookie jar. But to the 2-year-old, they cannot see that maneuvering because of the spectrum of intelligence difference between a 2-year-old and an adult human being of average intelligence. So, may we live in interesting times, as the famous Chinese ominous warning states. John Connor, you're not here to kill me. I figured out that for myself, so what's the deal? Terminator, my mission is to protect you. John Connor, yeah, who sent you? Terminator, you did. 35 years from now, you pre-programmed me to be your protector here. And this time, John Connor, this is deep. Never knew he was that actually old, actually. If he was 35 years in the future, and I guess John Connor's supposed to be 14, that would be, what? That would be 45 plus 4. That's like 49 years old he must have been when he did that. Okay, I'm guessing John Connor is 14 in the TV show. The movie. So, a lot of interesting comments here in regards to the article. But just making news at the moment, that is US General, they're warning about AI on the battlefield, summing up a number of things there. So just another video there. I thought I'd throw this up on Esoteric Detective. I hope you're all doing well. And go and do your own research, decide for yourselves. Put a link to the article in the comments section. Until next time, I'll see you all later.